Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I'm going to.
Will Smith ruled Hollywood for 3 decades. The charming superstar, the box office guarantee, the guy everyone loved. Behind the perfect image, tensions boiled over. 7 actors and celebrities who pushed him too far, disrespected him publicly, or destroyed their relationships forever. Some feuds exploded on camera, others burned quietly for years. The list is explosive. Number 7, Eminem.
Oh my God.
Eminem made Will Smith look soft for years, and Smith hated every second of it. The tension started in the late 1990s, when both were dominating their lanes. Smith was the clean rapper turned movie star. Family-friendly lyrics, no cursing, positive messages. Eminem was the opposite. Raw, violent, controversial, and unapologetic. The contrast made Smith an easy target. Eminem struck first at the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000. During his performance of The Real Slim Shady, Eminem had lookalikes of various celebrities on stage. One was dressed as Will Smith. The joke was clear: Smith was fake, corny, and irrelevant. The audience laughed. Smith wasn't there to respond, but word got back to him immediately. The disrespect continued in interviews. Eminem was asked about rap credibility and mentioned Smith as an example of commercial sellout success. He said Smith made music for kids and parents, not real hip-hop fans. The implication was brutal. Smith wasn't a real rapper. He was an entertainer playing at hip-hop. Smith initially stayed quiet. His career was flying. Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black. He didn't need to defend himself to a controversial rapper. But privately, the comments stung. Smith had started as a rapper. He won the first ever Grammy for Best Rap Performance in 1989. His credibility was real, and Eminem dismissing it hurt. The beef got worse when Eminem released The Real Slim Shady, with the line about Will Smith not having to cuss in his raps to sell records. Then adding, "Will I do, so f*** him and f*** you too." The line was direct and personal. Eminem was saying Smith's clean approach was weak and boring. Smith finally responded, but in his own way. In interviews, he defended his choice to stay clean. He said cursing was easy, making good music without it was the real challenge. He never named Eminem directly, but everyone knew who he meant. Smith positioned himself as the mature artist, while Eminem was the shock value kid. The rivalry represented 2 philosophies. Eminem believed in raw authenticity, even if it meant being offensive. Smith believed in responsibility and positivity. Neither would compromise. Hip-hop fans took sides. Eminem fans called Smith corny. Smith fans called Eminem juvenile. The debate raged for years. They never worked together. They never appeared at the same events if they could avoid it. When asked about each other in later interviews, both gave diplomatic answers, but the respect was forced. Smith moved away from music into acting full-time. Eminem stayed in rap and won an Oscar for Lose Yourself, proving he could cross over too. The tension faded as both men aged, but Smith never forgot being called fake by someone he felt didn't understand his choices. Eminem represented everything Smith wasn't, and the constant comparisons wore him down. Eminem attacked Smith's credibility from a distance, but the next name on the list made Smith uncomfortable up close on a movie set. Number 6, Jared Leto.
I met Jared for the first time about 3 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
That is the first time we ever exchanged a word that wasn't between action and cut. He never broke character for the 6 months that we were on set.
Jared Leto drove Will Smith crazy during Suicide Squad, and Smith made sure people knew it without saying it directly. The 2016 film brought together a cast of big names to play DC villains. Smith was Deadshot. Leto was the Joker. From day one, Leto's method acting created problems that affected everyone, especially Smith.
He was in. It was fun to watch, but it was fun to watch from a distance. He went really far.
Jared Leto, fully committed to playing the Joker, maybe too much. He stayed in character between takes and sent disturbing gifts to the cast. A dead pig to the group, used condoms to Margot Robbie, and live rats to other actors. He said it helped him get into the Joker's twisted headspace. Most people just thought it was gross and unnecessary. Will Smith stayed professional, but he was clearly annoyed. He'd been a movie star for decades and knew how to prepare for roles without making co-workers miserable. To him, Leto's behavior felt like attention-seeking, not serious acting. Whenever Smith tried talking normally, between takes, Leto answered as the Joker. The act wore thin fast. During promotion, Smith dodged direct criticism with careful lines like, "Jared was very committed," in a tone that sounded anything but admiring. No one defended Leto publicly, but few hid their discomfort either. Behind the scenes, Smith reportedly complained to director David Ayer that the behavior was disruptive. Ironically, much of Leto's footage was cut from the final film anyway. After Suicide Squad was slammed by critics, Smith quietly distanced himself, while Leto complained about his missing scenes. They haven't worked together since, and likely won't. Leto made Smith's work environment uncomfortable, but the next person attacked Smith when he was at his most vulnerable publicly. Number 5. Tony Rock.
The only misjudgment I felt of that is that the world wouldn't be gentle.
Tony Rock went after Will Smith with everything he had after the Oscars slap, and Smith had no way to respond. Tony is Chris Rock's younger brother, also a comedian. When Smith slapped Chris at the 2022 Academy Awards, Tony immediately became one of Smith's loudest critics. The attacks were personal, brutal, and relentless.
Not from what I knew, but I would have known. Again, I have had the best seat the entire time. I would have known. I worked with this man for 4 years on a sitcom. I would have known.
Yeah.
Tony Rock went public within hours of the slap. On social media, he called Will Smith unstable, said the apology was fake, and even argued Smith should be arrested. The posts went viral immediately. Tony didn't hold back out of loyalty to his brother. If anything, he went harder. The attacks continued in his stand-up shows, where he spent parts of his set ripping into Smith. He mocked Smith's marriage, career, and public image, calling him weak and controlled. Audiences loved it. Smith couldn't respond. Anything he said would make things worse, so he watched silently while Tony toured the country, trashing him night after night. Tony kept the criticism going on podcasts and interviews, saying Smith's career should be over and that Hollywood was too soft on him. Every appearance became another chance to pile on. What hurt most was that Tony benefited from it. Ticket sales jumped, his profile rose. He built part of his brand on Smith's lowest moment. Meanwhile, Chris Rock, the actual victim, mostly moved on. Tony didn't. Friends of Smith saw Tony's campaign as cruel and opportunistic, but publicly, Smith stayed quiet. The resentment never faded. Tony wasn't involved, yet became the loudest voice against him, and that created permanent bad blood. Tony Rock represented opportunistic cruelty, but the next actor took a more calculated approach to condemning Smith publicly. Number 4, Jim Carrey.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
Jim Carrey destroyed Will Smith in one interview, and Smith couldn't believe it came from a fellow actor. After the Oscars slap, most of Hollywood stayed quiet publicly. They gave generic statements about violence being wrong, but avoided specifics. Carrey went nuclear. He appeared on CBS Mornings and didn't hold back. Jim Carrey said he was sickened by the standing ovation Will Smith received after winning Best Actor. He called Hollywood spineless for celebrating Smith minutes after he slapped Chris Rock on live television, and added that if he'd been Rock, he would have sued Smith for $200 million. The blunt comments exploded across the media. Smith heard about the interview immediately and was stunned. To him, the criticism felt hypocritical. Carrey had a long history of bizarre and controversial behavior at award shows, yet was suddenly positioning himself as Hollywood's moral authority. Worse than the message was the tone. Carrey wasn't just condemning the slap. He seemed to condemn Smith as a person, suggesting his entire nice guy image was fake. The attack felt personal. Publicly, Smith stayed silent to avoid fueling the headlines, but privately, he was furious. He believed Carrey was using the moment for attention after stepping back from Hollywood. Carrey didn't stop, continuing in later interviews to say Smith should have been arrested and removed from the ceremony. Hollywood split over Carrey's stance. Some praised him, others said he went too far. Smith and Carrey haven't spoken since, and likely never will. Both feel justified. The resentment is mutual and permanent. Carrey's criticism hurt because it was public and harsh, but the next person on the list had been feuding with Smith for decades before the world paid attention. Number 3, Janet Hubert.
Look back now, it's obvious that you were having a hard time, and I felt like you hated me.
Janet Hubert hated Will Smith for 25 years, and Smith resented her right back. Their feud began on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in the 1990s, and became one of television's most famous behind-the-scenes conflicts. Hubert played the original Aunt Viv for 3 seasons before being replaced, and the way she exited the show created decades of bitterness. The tension escalated during season 3. Hubert was pregnant and negotiating for better pay. She felt undervalued compared to Smith, who was the breakout star, earning far more. Hubert wanted respect and fair treatment. Negotiations soured, and NBC ultimately decided replacing her was easier than meeting her demands. Smith's exact role in the decision was never fully clear, but Hubert blamed him entirely. She believed he had the influence to back her, and chose not to. When she was fired, Smith stayed silent publicly. To Hubert, that silence felt like betrayal. Her career stalled, while Smith became a global superstar. Resentment hardened into open hostility. Hubert spent years giving interviews calling Smith arrogant, controlling, and impossible to work with. Smith ignored her at first, which only intensified her anger. When he finally responded in the mid-90s, he painted her as difficult and toxic on set, comments that damaged her reputation further. The feud dragged on for decades, with Hubert repeatedly blaming Smith for derailing her career. The rest of the Fresh Prince cast remained cautiously neutral, but most stayed close to Smith. Power mattered, and he had it.
With your words, words can kill. I lost everything. Reputation, everything. And I understand you were able to move forward, but those words, calling a black woman difficult in Hollywood, is the kiss of death. It's the kiss of death, and it's hard enough being a dark-skinned black woman.
The breakthrough finally came in 2020 during the Fresh Prince reunion special. Smith and Hubert sat down together, cried, listened, and apologized. Smith admitted he'd been young and insensitive. Hubert explained the pregnancy, the stress, and the fallout. They hugged, and the world saw closure. But privately, the healing was complicated. 25 years of resentment doesn't vanish overnight. Smith regretted how things unfolded, yet disliked being blamed for everything. Hubert appreciated the apology, but couldn't forget the struggle that followed. Hubert's feud was personal and painful, but the next name attacked Smith with the fury of someone who felt morally superior in the moment. Number 2, Judd Apatow.
We just gotta be nice to each other, man. It's hard. And I guess the thing that was most painful for me is I took my hard and made it hard for other people.
Judd Apatow came for Will Smith with pure rage after the Oscars slap, and Smith was blindsided by the intensity. Apatow is a successful comedy director and producer, known for films like The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up. He and Smith had no prior beef. They moved in different circles and had no personal history. That made Apatow's reaction even more shocking. Within hours of the slap, Apatow was on Twitter destroying Smith. He called Smith's actions pure out-of-control rage and violence. He said Smith could have killed Rock. He accused Smith of being dangerous and needing serious help. The tweets went massively viral, getting hundreds of thousands of likes and retweets. Apatow didn't stop with one tweet. He kept posting throughout the night and following days. He called for Smith to be arrested. He said the Academy should strip Smith's Oscar. He attacked everyone who defended Smith or tried explaining the complexity of the situation. Apatow positioned himself as the voice of absolute moral clarity. Smith's team was stunned. Apatow had jumped into the controversy harder than almost anyone else in Hollywood. Other celebrities gave measured statements. Apatow was on a crusade. His language was extreme and unforgiving. He compared Smith to an abuser and demanded consequences. The backlash against Apatow was swift. People pointed out his own history of controversial behavior and crude comedy. Others said he was using Smith's moment for attention. Some noted that Apatow's intense reaction seemed performative and over the top. Apatow didn't care. He kept attacking. What made Smith angriest was Apatow's tone of superiority. Apatow acted like he had never made a mistake or lost control. He spoke about Smith like he was a monster, rather than someone who had a terrible moment. The lack of empathy or nuance felt cruel. Apatow appeared on podcasts and gave interviews continuing his campaign against Smith. He said Hollywood's response was too soft. He demanded harsher punishment. He refused to accept Smith's apology as genuine. Every platform became another opportunity to condemn Smith absolutely. Smith's friends defended him against Apatow specifically. They felt Apatow was grandstanding and using the situation to boost his own profile. They pointed out that Apatow's moral crusade felt inconsistent with his own career and content. But publicly, Smith stayed silent. The tension between them is permanent. Apatow made himself one of Smith's most vocal critics during his lowest moment. Smith sees Apatow as sanctimonious and opportunistic. Apatow probably believes he was right and doesn't regret anything. They'll never work together. They'll never be in the same room comfortably. Apatow burned that bridge completely with his Twitter rampage. Smith won't forget or forgive someone who attacked him with such intensity and self-righteousness. Apatow represented the Hollywood pylon at its worst, but the #1 spot belongs to the man at the center of Smith's most infamous moment. Number 1, Chris Rock.
I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Chris Rock is the name that defines Will Smith's biggest mistake and the tension between them. The 2022 Oscars slap shocked the world and destroyed the relationship between Will Smith and Chris Rock beyond repair. During the live ceremony, Smith walked on stage and struck Rock after the comedian made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head. The moment instantly shattered Smith's reputation and created a divide that may never heal. Their relationship before the slap was complicated but cordial. Smith and Rock had known each other for decades in Hollywood circles. They were friendly acquaintances, but never particularly close. Rock had made jokes about Smith's family before, especially regarding Jada and the 2016 Oscars boycott controversy. Smith publicly laughed them off, though the jokes clearly bothered him privately. The fateful night began when Rock presented Best Documentary and compared Jada's appearance to G.I. Jane. Jada suffers from alopecia, a medical condition causing hair loss. Smith initially laughed at the joke, but after seeing his wife's pained expression, something snapped. He marched on stage and slapped Rock across the face on live television before millions of viewers worldwide. The aftermath proved catastrophic for Smith. Despite apologizing after winning Best Actor that same night, the damage was irreversible. His reputation collapsed overnight as the internet exploded with reactions and commentary. Smith eventually resigned from the Academy and received a 10-year ban from attending the Oscars. Rock handled the situation with surprising initial grace, choosing not to press charges and remaining mostly silent. However, his 2023 Netflix special revealed deeper wounds. He addressed the pain of being publicly humiliated and made clear he hadn't forgiven Smith. The tension persists because neither has truly moved past that moment. Smith has apologized repeatedly, but Rock hasn't publicly accepted. They reportedly haven't spoken privately. Smith's career slowly recovers, but the slap will define him forever. Rock's career actually benefited. With sold-out tours and specials, the relationship remains frozen in that moment of violence, destroyed beyond any possibility of genuine repair. The slap wasn't just about that joke. It was about years of tension, personal struggles, and a breaking point caught on camera. Smith and Rock's relationship is Hollywood's most damaged, and there's no clear path to fixing it. 7 actors who shaped Will Smith's darkest conflicts. From rap rivalries to career-ending moments, Smith's journey reveals the cost of fame and mistakes. These feuds changed Hollywood and Smith's legacy permanently. Which conflict shocked you most? Comment below and hit subscribe for more explosive Hollywood truth.